We pray he keeps us steady on this.
Assalamu alaikum, family. Peace be unto you. You're tuned into the Sajda Morning Coffee Talks, and I'm your host, Sajda Wendy Muhammad. And we'll be right back. Be a friend, tell a friend. And guess what? Your girl is in the top 5, so I need you and a friend or two to get out there and vote. But we'll be back. We'll talk about it. I'm going to show a few commercials and a beautiful prayer.
Hey!
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee. And he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee. And I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
Greetings, everyone. I am honored to be competing in the Entrepreneur of Impact competition with Daymond John. Winning this competition would really help expand the footprint of my art and science of business movement and help me to continue to bring mental strategies and business strategies to marginalized people around the world. Look, voting is now open, so get out there, vote for me. I really appreciate it, and spread the word. Be a friend and tell a friend. And guess what? You can vote every day. So we need as many people voting because we need to bring grassroots entrepreneurial training to marginalized people around the world. Thank you so much. I'm Sajda Wendy Muhammad. I should have said that at the beginning, right? Well, at least you know it's not AI. Okay, I'm looking forward to your vote, and I'll see you soon. Greetings, assalamu alaikum, family. Welcome to the show. I'm sitting here listening to a little Muslim soul. Y'all know Muslim soul music? It's a new category of music, and my favorite artist in the Muslim soul category is Tariq El Amin. You got to get it. His new album is called Conscious Connections. That's a plug. He did not ask me to do this, but I am loving it. And Tariq is Tariq. El Amin is EL-AMIN. Muslim Soul, Conscious Connections. You can get it. I get it on Spotify. So every time he uploads something, it just goes to my Muslim Soul playlist. So anyway, that's a little shameless plug. Another plug that's not so shameless is, sorry, I got something playing here. Guess what, y'all? We are in the top 5 in the Entrepreneur of Impact competition. Now, y'all know how it gets when you get ready to get to the top. We got to go full force. So in addition to you voting every day, you got to go tell 2 or 3 people to vote every day. And I need you guys to post it every day, to call people, say, hey, go and vote. I'm about to start when I go places. I was at the car wash yesterday and this guy came up to me and I said, hey, did you vote for me yet? He was like, no. I said, let me send you this link. Vote, go ahead and vote. But I just think it is a honor, and it's so much fun to be able to tell you all what I believe I was brought on this planet to do. Okay. So I believe I'm your entrepreneur of impact. Let's demonstrate that. Let's show that by going out there and vote. Take out your phones right now. You can use this QR code that is right here. The red one, use that one. Go out here and vote. You got to make this go viral because you already know how the haters be hating. That's why we're going to talk about them today. They're going to be messing up the voting. They're going to try to mess up the internet, but we got to just be such a powerful, intentional force that they cannot do that. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can hear me okay today. And we always having here lately, since these storms, a lot of delay in the internet and stuff like that. I'll try not to talk so fast. But give me a thumbs up if you guys are hearing me okay. And while I take this little pause, jump out there and go vote. I got some chai tea and I put a little splash of coffee in it. So it's some good stuff. It's not as hot as I wanted it to be, probably because I was so busy making the concoction. But yeah, so as your okay, good. Mom says thumbs up. All right. As your entrepreneur of impact, y'all know that let me just explain this and break this down in case you're new to the show. My work has always been dedicated to equipping people, but specifically marginalized people, with the mental strategies necessary to build, sustain, and expand in environments that often resist us. So supporting this movement by voting for me as an entrepreneur of impact is really a time investment. If you don't have time to make the donation, just vote every day and then tell 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people to go vote. You and a friend or 2 for sure. But it's an investment in an expansion of knowledge. When you spend time on anything, you are investing. Your time is worth more than anything. Just you clicking on there, and you got to click the link or scan the QR code. You're going to say you want to go and vote. It's going to verify you using your Facebook page to make sure that we don't have bots and things like that are voting for us. But this is an opportunity to support the expansion of knowledge, access, because I really do try to put people in front of checks. So in front of opportunities, in front of ideas. I try my best to empower people. No, I do empower people. Okay. Because oftentimes we're left to navigate a complex system without any guidance. And your support helps to extend that network through what we do with education, content programming, direct engagement with committed entrepreneurs, helping you with partnerships, putting systems in place in your business, you name it. And I'm one of these people that do this. I have receipts. I'm not just talking. I'm not just running my mouth. I have receipts. Now, here's where a lot of people get confused. because real coaches and real entrepreneurs who are developers and consultants, we don't post everything. So you won't see all my clients online because a lot of people don't want you to know and be all up in their business. And it's important that I maintain a certain level of confidentiality. I had somebody say to me once, because I think they was trying to see if they could kind of steal and mimic, or I don't know, verify. I don't know. They said, well, you're supposed to have all these clients. I'll never see them with you, because that ain't how it work when you in this $1 million game. If I come over to your place, you bring me in, I sit on your board, we're not taping that. We real live strategizing against the haters in high places, which we're going to talk about today. This is a necessary conversation because I want to clarify some things. All right. Because a lot of times we tend to think, this is how us spiritual people think. Well, you know, people who are haters, they'll never be successful. They'll never have this or they'll never have that. And that ain't true, because you got haters in high places. This is about your own personal platform and why you do what you do, and why we're creating communities online, virtual communities and in-person communities. I got a circle of friends. We don't hate on each other. We support, we uplift. And so let's debunk that. There's a widely held belief that success refines a person. Some of us believe that as individuals rise in influence, they also rise in character. They rise in integrity or rise in emotional discipline. That is not true. But when we closely take a look, zoom in across business, across politics, and even in community leadership, we always find a different reality. Elevation does not purify your heart. Power does not heal your insecurity. Success does not eliminate envy. In many cases, it amplifies what's already present. I've had very successful people at the billionaire level hate on me when I was making $235,000 a year. I call those people like Trojan horses, because I went to this person thinking, she got me, she gonna be down. But it taught me something so valuable. And in that moment that she hated on me, I actually have it in writing. And I said, I will never be this person. I will never be the older sister, the auntie that's hating on somebody young. I'll never be that Black woman that's hating on another Black woman. I'm not going to be competitive. I'm just not going to do it. And it taught me something. So this is not about personalities. It's about patterns of behavior. It's about understanding the psychological and structural realities that allow individuals to ascend, but still carrying unresolved internal conflict. And how we as builders and leaders have to learn to remain unaffected, undistracted, and truly aligned with our goals. We can't be thrown off by these haters in high places. Because one thing we know about a hater is that the vibration is so off that they're going to need real people in order to create, because all they can do is kill, steal, and destroy. That's powerful, right? They can't create. You cannot create when you're in a low vibrational hater tone. Your view, your deceptive intelligence of creation will just be, let me go to the side and see what I can do to hurt somebody else. But see, when we start waking up and gaining awareness and start calling these people out, it's going to change the game. And we're going to talk about that a little bit today. So when we use the term hater, we're usually speaking casually. It's a newer term, right? But in psychological terms, and I was researching this, and y'all know my favorite, Psychology Today. It's rooted in what they call identifiable constructs. And at its core, what we call hating is often the result of comparison, insecurity, and perceived threat. People feeling insecure and comparing themselves to other people for whatever reason, being insecure, whether you got imposter syndrome or somebody paid you to be in your position that you in, so you feel insecure because you know you ain't the real deal, or you really feel threatened because you think that the people that are controlling you are going to see the next person and choose them. It's all about that identifiable construct: comparison, insecurity, and a perceived threat. See, human beings naturally evaluate themselves in relation to others. We are communal people. We're not meant to be alone. We're not meant to not be around other humans, other species. We heal through human touch, through conversation, through interactions. This is why if you have children, it's important to make sure that you're interacting with them. If you have elderly people, especially if they live alone, make sure that there's love and interaction there, because this is how human beings heal. When the comparison that they're going through produces inspiration, it can lead to growth. So I talk about how if you're younger and you have older people in your advisory circle, right, then you can step ahead of your peers. If you're older and you have younger people in your advisory circle, you can step ahead of your peers. But when you are comparing yourself and in that comparison, you start to produce inadequacy. My body don't look like that. I'm not that light. I'm not that dark. I'm not that tall. I'm not that short. I don't have that much money. Whatever it is, it can lead to resentment if you are undisciplined emotionally. And sometimes you can hear that resentment in people because they're comparing. And instead of the comparing leading to growth or self-improvement or inspiration or motivation, they start feeling inadequate. And sometimes they may have somebody in their life that they talk to about it, or who may point it out to them that's telling them, you got to do better. You got to, whatever they're pushing them towards. And now all of a sudden, some resentment steps in. Because let me tell you a secret. When you are dealing with somebody who is in their calling, doing what they showed up on the planet to do, there ain't nothing you can do to win if you create this kind of illusional competition. There's nothing you can do. All right. A person that is operating from this space may not consciously identify their behavior as enemy, as envy, because they may not even think they're your enemy. They may think that they're your friend. They may feel like they're your relative. They love you, but their constant comparison. And sometimes they disguise it, and they may want to say, man, we look just alike, or we're the same size, or we're just as tall, or we got the same experiences. And you know, and you looking at them going, that's not true. You weren't even there when I experienced this or that. You heard about it because maybe I told you. So they start using deceptive intelligence and start manifesting these thoughts into now they're very critical of you. Because remember, if they start trying to think that they're just like you in an effort to kind of shut down what they feel like is their insecurities, then they will portray or project their self-hatred onto you. So critiquing you, dismissing you, obstructing you, and a bunch of other subtle forms of resistance. And sometimes this can mask as a friend, a best cousin, a best whatever. And in leadership environments, these tendencies become way more pronounced because the stakes are higher. The visibility is greater. And for those without, an internal grounding, the success of others becomes destabilizing, because your success may remind them of what they're not doing. But see, if something is my gift, if I can sing real good and you can't, stop trying to compete with that. There are certain things about me that I know are my gifts, and you can't touch it if you stay up all night for the rest of your life. And there are things about you that are your gift, and I can't touch it if I stay up all night, every night for the rest of my life. It's important for us to understand this, so that we can interpret what's happening. Okay? Why do these haters sometimes tend to be successful? Even though we think that they won't be, there's this spiritual myth that those people won't be successful. And then here's what happened. We get this defeatist attitude because we see these haters in high places. So now we feeling like, man, I can't win. Everything becomes they don't want this. They gonna stop this. It's one of the most limiting beliefs that we got to release, is the idea that negative internal patterns prevent success. They do not. Many individuals rise to positions of influence not because of emotional intelligence, but because of strategic effectiveness. They want you to think that they got there because they're a good person. And oftentimes they play into the myth. But guess what? They might be highly disciplined. They may be extremely focused. They may be skilled at navigating systems. They may be willing to make certain decisions without emotional hesitation. These are all skills and traits that they may be deploying, and at the same time, they're a hater. So stop thinking that if a person is in leadership or they made it to a certain point, that they can't be a hater. In certain environments, these traits are rewarded, even when they are disconnected from empathy and ethical alignment. There are some environments where they find a pocket where they can be rewarded by getting extra attention, being severely narcissistic. You sitting there like, how did they get here? Some environments that can be rewarded. It's especially the case in systems that prioritize output over integrity. So a system or an organization where output over integrity is prioritized, this happens a lot in environments that are sales driven. Who sold the most, or who seems the most pious, or who knows the most formulas. Also systems that prioritize dominance over collaboration. So if you become real dominating in an environment where people are kind of weak, then as a hater, you can rise. Here's another one that's interesting. Some organizations, some of our companies are based on control. How well are the employees or the members controlled? And that takes precedence over consciousness. Okay, we into some high-level leadership stuff here. As a result of all of that, those individuals can become very successful while still operating from insecurity, comparison, or ego-driven motivation. This is not to discourage you, but to help you clarify what you're looking at. We also tend to, there's a term that you will hear a lot in religion, to be very polytheistic, in that we see other people in spaces of power and we start to deitize them. So this clarity will help us to stop deitizing. It allows us to stop measuring ourselves against incomplete models of success. Okay. Sometimes it can become so discouraging that we abandon the process of self-improvement because we like, If the person that's the CEO, the CFO, the leadership person can be like that, then what am I doing? You're doing what you're doing for you. It ain't got nothing to do with them. It ain't got nothing to do with you seeing them elevate in a certain capacity. So when you rise to power, it doesn't necessarily mean that your character is going to be transformed. It's just going to amplify it. You got to know what you're looking at. You got to be smart enough to be like, I know what I'm looking at. And when you know what you're looking at, you know how to move. See, if you're internally stable, then power will expand your ability to build, to uplift and create. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about being an entrepreneur of impact. It's one of my prayers that I prayed just about my entire adult life. Oh Allah, the more you elevate me, at the same time, build my improvement process, build my character, build me as a person, and expand my ability to build, my ability to uplift, my ability to create. Help me to channel your desires in situations where people who are your creations need help. I don't want to be internally conflicted, right? Because it's going to turn me into a control person, turn me into somebody who excludes people, distorts reality. And then once you become in leadership, whatever was subtle inside of you now becomes very, very visible. And that insecurity, you start gatekeeping. When you see people gatekeeping, that's usually a sign of insecurity. Now, I'm teaching you this so you know what you're looking at. When you see people gatekeeping, when you see them trying to stop you from being successful, 9 times out of 10, it's because they're insecure. When you see people just straight up blocking, obstructing, don't want you to get where you're trying to go, that's usually a person who's envious. When you see people who are very controlling and they're always putting up these rules and all this stuff, never really giving you an opportunity to express yourself and explore what you showed up at the company to do or on the planet to do, those are usually people who are operating in fear. It's a low vibration. And then that ego just becomes unchecked authority. This is why it's essential to understand that not all leadership is rooted in alignment. Some leadership is positional, where they, the owner of the company needed somebody to fill a position because maybe they had certain skills and they had to hurry up and do this because, again, always the ship is moving. So they had to hurry up and put this person in because they wanted to make sure the ship didn't sink. And they needed somebody. They needed a body in that place. And maybe that person came with certain skills. Maybe that person performs in a way that is needed at that time in the organization. Maybe it's strategic. You got to know what you're looking at, because even if a person has flaws, it doesn't mean that they're not necessarily good in that position when you look at the overall scheme of things. You may need them to correct certain cultures in the organization or certain climate within the company. So you need somebody with a certain personality to do that. That may not be a perfect person, but it may be somebody with a certain personality. Somebody that comes up and they're the cleanup person, to clean up the organization, to get the company on check, put the new systems in place. They may be a B. Y'all know what a B is. I don't want to say it because I don't want YouTube to shut us down, but they may be a real B and they ain't got no problem being a B. And that's what you need in that moment. So understand strategy when it comes to leadership and the ongoing concern of the business and the organization. Okay. Depending on how the ship is moving, what kind of enemies are coming against your company or your organization, what problems your organization is facing, what corrective measures need to be put in place will determine the type of leadership that you select to be in charge. And it does not necessarily mean that that is a perfect person. They could literally be a full all-out hater. This way you don't get surprised by it, and you can think more in terms of the science of business. Shout out, if you don't have a copy of my new book, go to Art and Science of Business. The QR code is right here. It's the one with the little green in the middle. Grab a copy of my book. I'm teaching you to see these types of things so that you're not so emotionally caught up when you see certain leadership in a way that you feel like is not perfect. Stop making a God out of these leaders. See, once you release these assumptions that position does not make them perfect, when you release this, several things happen. You're going to stop internalizing them as your opposition. You're going to know how to move. You know what works with your personality and what doesn't. If you know you're the kind of person that you're going to crash out, if something happens, then you know maybe while this leadership is in place, maybe I need to kind of get to the side. Maybe I need to fall back a little bit. You're going to find other ways to move, but you're not going to bulldog and push against your insecurities while you're still working on them. I'll give you an example. I'm one of those persons that you can't talk to me crazy and you can't curse me out. I've not grown to the point where I can take it for you to be talking crazy and I still just act like nothing ever happened. I'm just not there yet. And because I know that, and I know that I might be, working with an organization that has somebody that talks crazy to people, but they may be good for what the organization needs at the time. I know that I gotta measure my movement because I'll get infected or affected. But when you understand all of this, you're going to stop seeking validation with these misaligned people. And you're going to do what you need to do for the organization. You're going to do what you need to do for the company. And you're going to stop looking at these misaligned people as deities. You're going to give them the respect they deserve based on the company, the organization, but you're going to stop seeking personal validation. When you gain this kind of clarity, you're going to stop being emotionally disrupted by behaviors that you see that are not necessarily rooted in truth. I want you to get to the point where you interpret behaviors as information and not as a personal attack. When you deitize somebody, you can't see the information that's coming from the behavior because you are so busy personally attacking. And I'm going to tell you a technique. Once you stop deitizing people, the behaviors will give you information. And as you pray and meditate and talk to the God within, it's going to give you the answer on what to do with the information that you're being given and how to move. This is a critical shift for us as leaders and builders. Because without this information, you're spending valuable time attempting to make sense of actions that are not rooted in logic. You're going to spend time trying to make sense of actions that are based on unresolved internal states. It's going to replace some of the confusion. And then it's going to give you power because you understand the information that the behavior is giving you. And you can see the behavior more clearly because you're looking at it as information as opposed to validation. Your responsibility is not to engage every opposing force. So every time the bell rings, it's not your fight. When you got this information, you can remain grounded. Now, here's the 4 disciplines that we need in order to protect our position when there are haters in high places. Okay. Number 1, emotional non-participation. You do not enter into cycles of negativity. You do not match energy, and you do not respond from reaction. You may have to protect yourself, put that little ring of fire around yourself, but don't go in mimicking their emotional states. They are there for a reason. It may be long, it may be short, it may be to let me give you an example. No, I can't give that example. That's a proprietary thing to something. Let me say it this way. Sometimes if you go into a company and the leadership is really good at systems and keeping the organization intact, but maybe the people aren't that nice, that might be just the protection that the organization needs at that time. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's your job to be just like them. So emotional non-participation is number 1 in terms of the 4 disciplines that you have to use to protect yourself. The other one, number 2, is strategic awareness. We just talked about that. You observe the behaviors. The behaviors are information. You observe patterns. You adjust accordingly without personalization, without making and taking it personal. So strategic awareness. You should be able to walk into any environment and obtain information from the behaviors of the people in the environment. And once you meet and see and observe the leadership, you should be able to get information. I'm not talking about stuff you make up. I'm not talking about lies. I'm talking about real information based on the environment, based on what's happening. If you walk in and there's those detectors at the door that's, scanning your body to make sure you didn't steal something, and they got sensors on everything, that's going to tell you that they've had an issue with theft. That's just information. That's just basic. But there's a lot of other things that you can learn from information, and we'll talk about from behavior. We'll talk about, maybe we'll do a show on the information that behaviors give us. Here's number 3, boundaries. You control access to yourself. Not everyone is entitled to your time, your insight, or proximity to you, especially if they're toxic. So just because they are in a leadership position in the company you work for does not mean that you bring them into your inner circle. You don't bring those people home to your house. You don't let them see how you live in. You don't let them all up in your business. This is where you practice those concentric circles that we talked about, that I told you that the minister taught me about. Everybody don't go into this coarse eccentric circle. Depending on their behavior and depending on who they are, you figure out where in the concentric circles they belong. That's another show topic. We'll talk about that too. So just because somebody's in, the manager of the department doesn't mean that when you have a birthday party for your 10-year-old that you invite them and their child, and you already know what information their behavior has given you. And then if you say, well, I'm kind of in this position as a director where I got to invite these people and they may be toxic, then instead of having it at your home that is sacred, should only be for your inner circle, have it somewhere else. Go have it at Chuck E. Cheese, or I don't know where people have these parties at nowadays. Something like that. It's just a suggestion. Okay. Number 4 is continued excellence. You remain focused on your work. Your consistency becomes your response to their behavior. Focus on your work. Focus on continued excellence. Focus on being consistent. And that's your response to their haterism. All right. Now, this is going to require a little bit of self-governance. And it's going to be more powerful than you just reacting. Okay. Now, I want you to understand that there's an advantage to not becoming what you encounter. And it's hard. I know it's hard. But there's long-term, you're playing the long game. Okay. When you choose this type of alignment over just reacting, over deitizing, play the long game. When you do not operate from envy, resentment, or insecurity, several things remain intact. Your clarity, your decision-making, your relationships, your integrity, and you start to build and operate from like a space of being coherent, cognitive of the information that's going on around you. And that is what's going to give you stability, and it's ultimately going to attract trust. It's going to make your growth very sustainable, because your growth is not dependent upon how you react to these hateristic people that are in your high places around you. Your growth is sustained by your consistency. And that's what's going to create your longevity. So play the long game. This is a different form of power. Don't look to control the environment. Root yourself in the personal alignment, whatever principles, whatever your responsibilities are in the company, in the organization, but play the long game and be strategic. Because haters in high places are not exceptions. Okay? They're really part of a broader reality that success and self-mastery are not the same. Your job, my job, is not to be disillusioned. Our job is to be discerning, to understand how to gain information from behaviors. Stop being in denial. When you understand that opposition can exist at every level, you're no longer distracted by it. And when you and I choose not to mirror it, we can really elevate beyond it. We can play the long game and become a builder not only of our own personal successes, but structure and stability. And that's the position that no opposition can dismantle. I'm sorry, the sun is coming up in my face, and it's so bright. Let me see if I can read the comments here. Yeah, I see that. I hope this is making sense to us, because we are so caught up in what we see other people doing. If we see somebody in leadership, we see them in a position of authority, we start saying, either I'm going to shut down and I'm not going to be successful, or I'm not going to be contributing. I'm going to run away. I'm going to go away. I'm not going to help. Or we go to work and we're a disengaged employee. That happens all the time. And And that, believe it or not, has cost the United States of America like 34% reduction in revenue is disengaged employees. All right. I see you all giving the greetings. I don't necessarily see any questions in here. If you're new and you're just joining, use this red QR code and go and vote for me as an entrepreneur of impact. I was elevated overnight to the top 5. Okay. And as a person that's always striving to bring this information out to you that will help you to navigate around all the stuff that's happening, I want to be your entrepreneur of impact. So use this red QR code, go out there, vote. And I want you to tell a friend or two. So you and a friend or two, go and vote. Vote for me as an entrepreneur of impact. We've got some fabulous things planned for the summer. We got some master classes in a very sacred space that's going to be happening soon. So, support the movement. And I'm going to tell you to focus most of your time on voting, but you got to get the book. You got to become a sponsor. There's a lot of things. And I'm sorry, the sun is loving me today. And I'm appreciating it. But I know it may be making you guys have a hard time seeing me. But nothing like the rich and lusciousness of the sun. Vote for me, family. Go vote. Pull out your phones right now. Do it right now before I sign off. Let me find a commercial we're going to play as we go out. And listen, I told you, I'm trying to give y'all hints about these events that are happening in sacred spaces. All I can say is oh man, it's too far for me to reach. If you have a commemorative Elijah coin, use the link that's on the social media pages to register your coin. I'll post it again. But register your coin, y'all, so that you can access these benefits. It's going to be worth it. Trust me. It's going to be worth it because a lot of communications are only going to go out to coin members. It's actually a separate entity. So that's all I'm going to say for now. All right, family. Love you all. I'm your entrepreneur of impact. Don't forget that. And we'll see you all, inshallah, tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. right here, same time, same place. All right. Remember, be a friend, tell a friend, and accept your own and be yourself.